All right, Song of the Deep. This one is quite an obscure pick. It's funny, it's one of those games I feel like I never hear about. It's a 2016 game made by Insomniac Games. This is actually probably my favorite game studio of all time. There was a period of time, like right after the PS3 era. You know, they were coming off of the Resistance trilogy, Ratchet and Clank Future games, and they started to dip into weird territory, right? They did a lot of like multi-platform stuff. They did a lot of stuff for Xbox that didn't pan out. I mean, it's not like the games were bad, but there was just a period of time where it was uncertain where their future lied. And at one point, they were publishing games with GameStop, and that was this game called Song of the Deep. So here's my takeaway from this game. I really liked it. I thought it was extremely different from everything else I've ever played from this company. So, you know, nowadays, Insomniac, you know, they're in the Marvel bubble. You know, with the success of Spider-Man, on the horizon, we have games like Spider-Man 2 and Wolverine. And I fear that they're going to get trapped in that bubble. I mean, don't get me wrong, Spider-Man's great, but you know, something like this really made me think, wow, these guys are totally, not only incredibly talented, but they can really reach outside of their comfort zone. I mean, this game is nothing like any game I've ever played by Insomniac. I want to reiterate, it's not like this game broke the wheel. Like, this is a 2D game where you play as a girl in a submarine, traveling through the depths of the ocean to find your father who's gone missing after a scavenging trip. So the idea here is it's a lot of exploration, you know, in the depths. It's the unknown, a lot of darkness, having to use sonar to get around. Here's the basics of it, right? It's a pretty straightforward game on the surface. It's all about taking your time, going around, finding treasure, figuring out how to pry open whatever the treasure's in to get it out, using that treasure to then buy new equipment and upgrades for your submarine to get better and better and stronger and everything. And it's all great, all rewarding. But yeah, that's the thing, right? It's fun, but I can totally see why this was overlooked. It is. I feel like I have seen a million games that look very similar to this. They went with kind of a almost like a comic art style. All the cutscenes are done in kind of like almost like a comic book form, but it's very somber. Music's very nice. It's exactly what you would picture when I tell you, like, this is a 2D submarine game in the depths of the ocean, and it's an indie game. It has indie game vibes all over it. That is exactly what this is. It's not a bad thing. Like I said, it was extremely refreshing coming from someone who's played a lot of Insomniac Games arsenal. I feel like this was very outside of what I've played from them, but I have played a lot of games similar to this, and I feel like there are going to be a lot more games made very similar to this. So look, I think the takeaway here is I think this game is awesome, and it probably deserved a lot more recognition and maybe eyes on it. When it did come out, it was a weird thing, like I said, with GameStop, where they were like trying to make games. I feel like that lasted like 2 weeks, and then this and maybe 2 other games came out. I don't know. If I have to give a negative criticism, it would be the game really, as you would probably imagine, it encourages exploration, right? You're looking for all these different treasures and these little puzzles to solve, and in the process, it is the opposite of what I've been doing for the rest of this marathon of games, which is, attempting to beat them rather quickly. It probably took me about 6 to 7 hours to beat the game. I would imagine if you actually took your time, you're looking more at like maybe 12 to 13, 14 hours, especially if you're looking for everything. And I will say, I actually surprisingly didn't struggle. I was really expecting, like, anytime there's a game like this in this type of challenge, I always think, well, I'm going to have a hard time because I'm not going to have all the upgrades. But I will admit, even though I didn't get everything unlocked, obviously, because I was just kind of going from objective to objective, I still had a lot. Like, they still give you a ton of money, and I was able to unlock basically everything I wanted personally. So in that sense, I have to give it praise, but the negative criticism would be when you go from, objective to objective, a lot of times it's like, oh, go find these 3 parts, which are completely spread across the map, and that's a pain, right? But it's not so much a pain when you're exploring the area around you, and you kind of just, will naturally go to these areas to find these parts. But for me, I'm like going to A to B to C to get these parts, and then it's like, oh, now go do it with these other parts. It's like, I just did that. So not intuitive, not doesn't play into the idea of trying to beat it quickly. But if you're looking for something where you can go in, explore, kind of immerse yourself, I think it's a really great game, and I 100% think it deserves more recognition for them stepping outside of their bubble and doing something different. Song of the Deep gets a thumbs up, and I'll see you guys next time for number 39. It's coming up, folks. We're almost there. Oh, Jesus.